What's happening, travelers? Neetson Mosery here, the traveling investor, and welcome to another week of the Traveling Investor Show, where we demystify the art of mastering your mind, body, and wallet. And, in this show, we love to discuss success principles, success philosophies, mindset strategies, everything that could help you achieve success, and whatever that definition of success is for you. Some people define success as waking up in the morning on time. That is fantastic. Some people define success as having $1 million in the bank. That's awesome as well. But whatever your definition of success is, here at the Traveling Investor Show, we want to help you achieve that success. Now, we're all born into different families and socioeconomic levels and different countries. And even in some countries, we're born into different caste systems. But one thing here in this country is, if you're born poor, that's not your fault, right? We can't really determine which family we're born into or where we're born to or whatnot. However, if you live in this country, in one of the greatest countries on the planet, the United States of America, and you die poor, I want to give you some tough love right now. That is your fault, especially in today's world, in today's technology. We have everything accessible in our fingertips. You want to learn anything, you can go on YouTube University and you can pick it up. There are no more excuses why you cannot become successful. And I love Dale Carnegie's definition of success. Dale Carnegie's definition of success is someone who has already started their journey to success. You don't have to achieve success. All you have to do is start that journey. Put one foot in front of the other. Set a goal. Set a SMART goal where it's specific, it's measurable, it's attainable, it's realistic, it's time sensitive. Set those SMART goals, set those little rewards, those little victories that will propel you to the larger victories and move forward. There's no reason why you can't do that. And my show is geared to helping you achieve massive success. And today's guest, he's a #1 international best-selling author of The Modern Wealth Building Formula. He's an educator, an engineer, a public speaker, and a world-renowned authority on real estate investment and development. He's a titan in the world of real estate, and I'm going to tell you why. His contribution to the building trade, with the completion of more than $1.5 billion in high-rise construction, has been recognized internationally, and hence he's been known as the king of skyscrapers. Ken is a titan of the world of real estate. He's known for his passion for real estate and how he loves assisting people to thrive in the real estate business. And according to Ken, venturing into a real estate business and being successful requires intelligence, hard work, perseverance, integrity, and a never give up mindset. Ken has changed the skyline of New York City for the better. And I want to bring him on the show because we don't want to hear me talking. We want to hear Ken and his secrets to massive success. Ken, how are you?
How are you, Neetson? Good to see you, brother. How you doing?
You too. How's everything going?
Very well, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here today.
Pleasure to have you. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. And I know you're busy, so we're going to keep this short and sweet, and we're going to give it some awesome attention. And there's a lot of people out there that are listening now currently and that are going to be listening to this for many, many years on once it's posted and updated as a podcast. So, Ken, why don't you share with us who you were before you were the king of skyscrapers and how and what was that shift? What were some of those steps or ideas that helped form who you are today?
Yeah, the first thing I always say, excuse me, is, I put my pants on like everybody else, one leg at a time, and, it started out with going on class trips to New York City, where I had a dream that one day I would build a skyscraper, believe it or not, and wasn't a great student, created the 6-year plan in college. And when I got out, I had fortunately won a design development award, and it planted a seed. And I went on to a career of, what dad told you to do, go work hard, get a college degree. And, and next thing I knew, I was standing on top of a 30-story building that I built, $100,000 in debt with twins, going, now what do I do? Something's not congruent here and making sense with a financial, freedom or future that looked a little bit more bright. But the good news was I had learned how to build skyscrapers, and, I had built a lot of them and I got really good at it. And that was kind of my transition into real estate. I always tell people, it doesn't really matter what you do before you get into real estate. Something applies to real estate, because real estate has every single aspect, of professionalism and hands-on.
That's so true. So you started off as an engineer.
I did. I graduated as a civil engineer, and by the time I actually passed the civil engineering license, I was making more money in construction. So I stayed in that career and worked myself up at the ladder as, project super, earned a site safety license and superintendent's license to build 100,000 square foot buildings in New York City. And, that's how it started, really being a super, and then learning what project management was behind, and worked myself eventually up to an executive in a number one construction company in the world, Liew McGovern. And then from there, I was like, wow, I wanted to work for a developer, and I jumped over to a development company. And then a couple steps after that, I was on my own. Next thing you know, my first project was a $17 million assisted living facility, 113 beds, 72,000 square feet, that we built and paid ourselves like $1.6 million in fees, because that was the trick that I figured out. Like, if I could pay myself fees, I could give myself a job and then eventually create a future through real estate investing, which was the other side of the coin,
That's beautiful. So what would you say, were some of the points or pivotal points in your life that helped you achieve that success, right? Because you started off as an engineer, you went to school, you studied that,
Yeah.
right? You were working with that, then you started working with construction. What helped you go to that next level?
Yeah, great question. And I actually heard you say it in the intro. Dale Carnegie was like one of the first courses I ever took, to get up in front of people and learn how to present myself. And, and then I did a lot of Tony Robbins training, which, in 2001, when the towers collapsed, I was a project executive, and when the towers collapsed, my best friend worked for Cantor Fitzgerald. I knew he perished, and I just kept hearing Tony in my voice. Your feelings are based on what you focus on. You need to go back to the States and make a difference. The good news is we got stranded in Hawaii, but Tony was a major transition in my life. That was, in 2001, I was 246 pounds. Today I weigh 168. And really, just got myself in shape. I said I'd be in the best shape when I'm 60, but that is where I really pivoted. I came back, I started chugging along, running in the morning, and then, working, continuing to work, my 5 a.m. till midnight, finishing up degrees and licenses, and positioning myself, and, just took it from there. But, between Tony and really personal development, which has been a part of my life, investing in myself. A couple years ago, before I wrote the book, I was laughing because I had like 9 coaches. I was learning how to, do a real presentation, and how to do a one sheet, and, how to write a book, and how to write, all kinds of stuff about the stuff we don't know, and that's when you really start to accelerate in life, when you stop trying to figure it all out, surround yourself with, mentors, and move it forward,
That's so true. That's so true. I discuss it on my show as well. You talked about you had 9 coaches, right? Today, people don't understand that you can go to school, you can get educated, right? You can get textbook education, right? Which is great. It has its worth, right? If you want to be an engineer, you got to know the laws, you got to know the rules, you got to know how to measure, how to do all that. But when it comes down to life and to actual going out into the field, there's nothing better than having a coach or a mentor who's been there, done that already, and can help you along, right? That cuts the learning curve. It cuts your success curve almost in half.
Yeah,
Right.
it's so true. And that was a pivot point that you brought it, because I never really was exposed to any type of coaching early on in my career. But then one day I sat there, I'm like, well, my football coach would always like tell me what to do, and I realized I was coachable. I was an all-state football player, and I remember trying my first coach. I was like, what is a life coach? And they just help you sort, the thousand moving parts that we all have in our life, let alone social media distractions and families and drama. I mean, accountability and coaching, I think is something that, if people are open and coachable, they should make it part of their life. And it doesn't, you don't have to always pay for it. You could create your own accountability system around you, and you always hear it in dieting and stuff, people, like Tony jokes, everybody knows how to diet, but who's losing weight? Because they don't have a coach and an accountability partner,
That's so true. That's so
Yeah.
true. And, a lot of, just to talk a little bit more about that, you also talked about mindset, excuse me, about mindset, right? So many people out there will find a coach, will find a mentor, will find a program. They'll go and they'll pay money for it. They'll hire the coach, they'll hire the mentor, but they won't put in the work. They won't put in the time. They won't put in the effort. And then they go and they point, right? They point at somebody else and go, it was their fault it didn't work. It was not mine. It was their fault, right?
They forgot to look in the mirror.
Right? That whole mindset has to go.
Yeah. It's disappointing sometimes, because, when I coach now, I measure myself. I'm like, what's the runway to success for each person? Because if people aren't taking off and getting what they want in life, then your coaching mustn't be that good, and a lot of times it comes down to exactly that. How do you get the individual and create like a VIP experience where they're not looking at it, oh, I got to get on the treadmill and ride, or I got to open up that book and learn about real estate, and if you look at it, why am I doing it? Like, what's your real why? And if you want to, create a future, that's more inspiring than you have now, you have to take action. You can't be a couch potato or sit there and pray all day and expecting, the bank account just to fill up. You do have to, as Tony says, in my opinion, take some massive actions and really focused actions, because, if you don't know, literally, if you're going on vacation, you don't have a map, same thing in life. If you're not clear on what your end vision is, your end goal, sometimes you could be walking around the block a couple times,
It's so true. It's so true. I've got my skipper's license and I've gotten pilot's license, and I studied to get my pilot's license. And when you're navigating and you're navigating on the map or on a compass, that 1 degree off in the beginning doesn't seem like much, but when you get to the end, that 1 degree could be hundreds and hundreds of miles off of your destination.
Wow.
Right. So it's the same thing in life. If you're not dead set on exactly where you want to go and who can help you get there and have all the tools, you're probably going to miss the mark. Like you said, you're probably going to run around the block a couple of times.
Yeah.
Right?
There's no question.
So what's from your perspective, right? Let's talk a little bit about, just that, goal setting and whatnot. How can people, we have a lot of new people listening, newbies that want to get involved in real estate, and people think, oh, it's so easy. I'll just buy a house, fix it and flip it, or I'll buy an apartment complex and I'll get cash flow. What were some of the tools that you used to help you set goals or even come up with a goal, right? Because a lot of people say, oh, I want to make money. I want to make millions and millions of dollars. That's my goal.
Yeah. What I found, and people have this tendency to make lists, right? And I found at one point in my life, I had so many lists, it froze me because I didn't know where to start. There was sometimes 100 items on there.
Mm-hmm.
And I really played a game at myself. I said, okay, if I look at this list as a bureau with 8 different drawers, because, I had my career, I had my finance, I had my health, and I break that list down into 8, categories, it looked a little smaller. And then as I looked at the items, say, related to my health and fitness when I was 246 pounds, I looked at and I says, wow, if I do these 20% of these items, I'm going to get 80% of the results. And, I guess you could refer to it as, chunking it down. You may have heard the term before, but it was a habit that I kind of came up even till this day. when I wake up and I start my day, what I'm grateful for and what my mission critical 3 things are for the day, which relate to business, health and fitness, and relationships. I literally write down what my goals are for each one of those things that day based on my overall long-term vision of what I'm doing. And I reverse engineer back, because if you're not clear on what the end vision is, how do you know what you're doing today is actually bringing you towards your goal? And what I learned about the goal setting was that you actually have to do it in reverse like that. You have to really like meditate on it, think about and envision what that outcome is. And that's the outcome. And then you step back and you go, well, why do I really want that outcome? And if you think through it and come up with 3 concise reasons why you want that outcome, you will exponentially increase the amount of odds to get that goal. And then when you look at your list after you do those 2 exercises, the things stick out right in front of you. Like, wow, if I do those things, I'm going to get what I want a lot sooner. And that was something that, I learned, with working with Tony, because Tony has, I think 80 companies now, and when he was just getting started, my first firewalk UPW, there was 1,000 people. Last one I went to, there was like 12,000. It was crazy. And, I just learned a lot, from him, like if you want the time of your life, you have to have these types of systems in place and think through it, and the problem really is people don't take the time to think through what they really want. They get freaked out. They get scared. There's nothing wrong. It doesn't cost you anything to think it through,
Absolutely. Absolutely. People spend more time planning their vacation than they do planning their life and setting goals.
Yeah, I just play hard. That's like my vacations. I'm constantly on vacation,
Exactly. I was reading
like you said, it's all mindset. You could create anything you want through language and mindset.
Absolutely. What are some of the tools or the action items that you do to help you keep that positive mindset going, right? Because life will throw you curveballs, physical, chemical, chemistry in your brain. One day you may wake up and you're a little bit off. What are some of the things that keep you on that path?
Yeah, I have this thing I call structure for fulfillment. So like I have most of my hours accounted for. So if I get knocked off for a perch, I could always go back and go, well, what am I supposed to be doing? One of the things, and might be off on a tangent, but my why Wednesday is I go see my 87-year-old parents in the morning and have breakfast with them and my brother. And, stuff like that's important because, there's a fallacy about, you want to have a balanced life. Life is never really balanced. Like you're either going full tilt with your family or, you're full tilt with your career. It's hypothetical, but, the bottom line is, if I were to do it all over again, I would have worked less Sundays, because it was like 7 days a week, and I would have spent more time with my loved ones. This past weekend, I was in a town that had 1,034 people in population. I didn't even know life existed like that. Coming from New York City, there's 1,000 people within the one block going to Penn Station.
Right. In one building.
My son got married, and he's an intelligence officer. He's like, Dad, you want to go to a wedding on a lake in shorts? I'm like, absolutely, and it was a whole way of life that I never really, I guess enjoyed it the way I did, and those kind of things where in the past, I used to think work was more important, and I realized that by adding that in, I actually produce more. Like my production, has never been better. I get stuff done in a couple hours with people take 8 hours, but that took 7,000 hours of practice, but, I just say that because, if people are looking to save time and accelerate and learn fast, give us a call. We're here to help you out and save time. We want to see you take off in that jet, and enjoy yourself in life, be with family and be able to pay it forward,
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's fantastic. So, I like what you said is that you have your hours already dictated on what you're going to do, so that if you do get a little, a phone call comes in, throws you off, takes you off of your game, you go right back to your schedule and you know where to go. And a lot of that, what that'll do also, and correct me if I'm wrong, Ken, it'll keep your energy level
Yeah.
up. It'll keep you focused. It'll keep the negativity out, because you don't have time to focus on the other person next door, or your competitors, or your people, because you're focused on your goal. You're focused on doing what you're doing, right? So there's no time for that negativity to seep in and to set foot.
Yeah, and it's funny you say that, because I'm a little nerdy and I do these color coded sheets, and whether I'm at church on Sunday for 4 hours, it calculates the percentage of time. Like, that's my spirituality draw that I was telling you about, the dresser. But I have a date night with my wife on Fridays, and then it's soulmate, Saturday or whatever, and then it calculates how much time. So the funny thing is, if I'm having a bad Wednesday and I look, I'm like, well, I got date night Friday night, I got the, so, and it always brings you back, which I hate to say, sound like a cliche, but, there's nothing wrong with just going back to the basics, because, you always got to, make sure that foundation's strong. I use these analogies, in New York City, I was in the concrete business. I learned that, when you build that foundation, sometimes it takes 6 months. All you see is a green fence. You walk by and you go like, what are they doing there? And you look and it's just a hole. And then when we used to start pouring the towers, we were in a 4-day cycle. So every 4 days we'd have a floor, and you would just see this building go up, and it was pretty amazing. But it's really about making sure your foundation's strong. And when you build a skyscraper, it's just like building an extraordinary life. You need a strong foundation, and that superstructure out of concrete, that's your backbone, because life is tough, man. You're going to get knocked around, and that's why you got to get the skin of the building on real quick, get the windows and the skin on, and the roof, because you got to batten down the hatches, because life's a storm. And then the elevator's the key, because you got the hoist going up and down on the outside of the building. You got to get the elevator on the inside, and that represents how life is. It's really up and down. So you get that elevator going inside, and then you focus on the finishes, and that's when you get to kind of polish up your life. And I love that analogy, because that's what life is. It's a process. You can't just be successful overnight. I started with $10 a week. Like I said, my dad, climbed telephone poles, pumped gas at night. My mom was a bank teller, and they just said, go to college, go to college, go to college. And I'm like, I don't want to go to college. you know the drill.
Absolutely. But I agree with you, and I love what you said. I have 2 teenage daughters, and they come and they see the top part of the iceberg, right? They don't see the 80% below the water, right? So just like you said, they don't see the building of the foundation, and growing up in New York City as well, right? Walking down those construction sites, and you're right. For 6 months, you're looking through those fences, and you're like, dude, they're not doing anything. What are they doing? And they're digging and they're putting it, but once that foundation is built solid, that sucker goes up like that in no time, right? And really, people are amazed about, oh my God, look how fast that's being built. Look how fast that's being built. Oh wow, look at it, right? And my daughters also, they just see that, well, you just have, look at your car and look at this and look at that. I said, but you don't see the 20, 30, 40 years of stress, of tears, of fatigue, of exhaustion.
Exactly. Tears is right. Remember those nights we're going, oh man, how are we going to get through this week?
That's right.
Our kids are going to get I used to think, oh wow, how am I going to get my twins college tuition paid?
That's right. Yeah. When I was growing up, when I was in New York City, there were times where I had to make a decision. Did I take the subway to Wall Street and work, or did I eat lunch that day? Right. People don't see those challenges, that struggle, right? They just see the nice shiny face and the success and all that, but it's behind the scenes is what is the truth behind it. Yes. Right. We have a question here from Shaka. He goes, as a 25-year-old, what are some things you would consider time wasters on the road to success?
Great question. Social media for sure.
Mhm.
I have someone take care of that for me. So if I do get feedback, but stay away from social media. It's just a total distraction. And I think a lot of times, I spent a lot of times worrying about and wanting to help other people when they didn't really want to help themselves as much I wanted to help them. So be supportive with people, but don't spend a lot of time. If you're I call myself a supplier saboteur. I just want to give, give, give. Don't spend a lot of time worrying about other people and spending time on social media. Surround yourself, and always remember you're going to be like the 5 people you surround yourself with.
Absolutely, absolutely. Abdul Majid says, "Great experience, thank you." Yeah, and I agree. Social media is such a time waster, man. Yeah. Sometimes and I'm guilty. Sometimes I'll just sit there and I'll flip through it. Next thing I know, an hour and a half was gone. I'm like, damn, I could have read an entire book at that by doing that, right? I said next time I'm gonna pick up the book, do something, right? It's an incredible time waster, and Shaka, as a 25-year-old, I don't know if you're married or if you're with someone, but chasing after you know women, men, parties, the bling, all of that stuff, that's a time waster, that's a time sucker.
Mm.
I just focus on your goals, right? It's like it's like what I tell my coaching clients as well. When they ask me, well, who do I how do I find my investors? Who are my investors? So you got to find your niche. You got to laser in, and you got to focus in on exactly what you want to do. Just like what you were mentioning earlier, Ken, about the having every hour spoken for, so you're not wasting your time, right? It's great to go out and have friends, but you know what? That time that you spent 3, 4 hours at the bar drinking and bullshitting with your friends, you could have been at home building up your business,
Mm.
right? And you can sacrifice 5, 10 years, especially at the age of 25. And then when you're at 30, 35 years old, you pick your head up and you look around, you're light years ahead of everybody else,
Yes. It's
right?
so true. It's so true. And one thing I don't want you to think like you don't want to deprive yourself, but what we're talking about here is blocking time. And one book that I always recommend, because I found that that's how my success was, is it's called Deep Thinking, a deep thought, I think it is. Deep Thinking it is. And deep work. And basically when you're in zone action, you could have results of like almost 40x. And it was all those years where I was in my office from like 5 in the morning till 8 in the morning. But block the time out early in the day, because as the day goes on, you're not going to be as productive. Block your time out early and focus on your goals and hit it hard. And then you don't deprive yourself, but don't play too hard. Stay focused, because 3, 4 hours in a bar drinking with a bunch of guys isn't going to fill your bank account.
That's right. That's right. Right. We got to have our priorities. But yes, you're absolutely right as well, Ken. We can't deprive ourselves, and it can't be just work, 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 because we need we need the outside, the social, everything to refill our storages, our insides, storage units that give us that energy and that momentum. Let me ask you this, Ken. You went from engineering to real estate, and you did all these things. You're talking on stages. You built $1.5 billion worth of skyscrapers. There must have been a lot of fear, or at least in the beginning. What were some of the things that helped you overcome that fear of getting started, of moving to the next level, right? Because a lot of people out there are sitting and they're listening, going, yeah, but, I don't know, and I'm afraid. What if I fail? What if I this? What if that? How do you get past that?
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't know the acronym, what is it?
Oh, there's so many of them.
Yeah. Like,
Forget everything and rise,
yeah.
false evidence appearing real, right?
I mean, I didn't really know any of that when I studied fear, and a lot of my fear study came with my work with Tony. It literally led to two things. Like every time I said, like, okay, what are you afraid of? Which there was always a lot of fear around money, because I never came from any, and I was afraid to ask for it. Then there was the crashes. I lost it. I thought it was my fault. But where I really had a pivot around fear is I realized that everybody has the biggest number one primary fear of failure, when in reality, I realized I was just continuously failing measurements, and I wasn't the failure. People have a hard time delineating that
Hmm.
if you measure or you say, hey, I'm going to get 7 of these today, and you only get 5, there's no reason we'll go, I'm going to get 8 tomorrow. There's no reason why you can't increase what you're going to try to get. It's just kind of like a measuring game towards an outcome that you want. And there's nothing wrong with that, and it was really a fear of failure. And the other biggest thing, that I had was that I was never like enough. Everybody thinks, well, I don't really understand it, so I should keep my mouth shut. I shouldn't say anything. And that's like the number one mistake, because everybody has a superpower. And,
Hmm.
they just think that, I'm not enough. I can't have that conversation. And I had that for years because, my dad started his career at $2,100 a year. I mean, he capped out at like $52,000 a year. Like, I didn't know, what was out there. I didn't know how to ask for money. I didn't understand what people really earned. I
Hmm.
had to be exposed to it, so, it's just, never give up. I always tell people, just keep plugging along and asking questions. People out there want to help you. Don't be afraid to ask for help.
That's awesome. Absolutely, right. Gotta be able to ask for help. I always say I'm not the smartest, I'm not the sharpest tool in the toolbox.
I say that too. We'd be hanging out in the same bin there.
In the same toolbox, rubbing up against each other.
Yeah,
Absolutely. I,
yeah,
I I always say if my company, my business had to rely solely on me, I wouldn't be successful.
yeah,
Right.
yeah,
I've been very lucky to surround myself with people who are a lot smarter than I am, who are way more capable of way more than I am.
yeah. Yeah, that's one of the things I always talk about is the dream teams that we surround ourselves. I mean, we'll give away our age, but we both remember the dream team in the 1992 Olympics,
Yeah.
when they just slaughtered everybody, and if you
Mhm.
surround yourself with, people that are better than yourself, and you have like-minded and the right mindset and goals that pay it forward, there isn't really anything that's going to stop you to achieve what you want in life.
It's true, and I, I sometimes I look around, I stop and I look at people, and I see people who are achieving massive success, and I go, I say, you know what? Just like you said in the beginning, they
Yeah.
put on their pants the same way that I do. They shower, they brush their teeth, they drink a beer the same exact way that I do. What is different from them than me? And it comes out, to two things, right? Mindset and taking action,
That's
right?
it.
Those two things, right?
It's funny that you say that, because I always say, if you're gonna if you want to live in a world of performance, right, which applies to everything, it's really simple. It's either action or inaction. That's it. Don't complicate things. You
That's
just
right.
hit the nail on the head. I mean, it's really that simple.
That's it. It's so true. I have coaching clients that come and they pay me thousands and thousands of dollars, and I give them work to do and assignments and whatnot, and they just don't do it. I said, okay, that's not my problem. You want to achieve success? How are you going to do it? No one's going to hand it to you. You got to
Yeah,
go out there and take it,
exactly,
right?
exactly.
You got to go out there and we. That's the reason why we have two hands, so we can grab things with both hands and reel them in, so we can go out there and grab our success and grab our life and grab everything with two hands, so that we
Yes,
can hold on to it.
yes,
Right?
yes, yes. No,
Absolutely, man. Awesome, awesome. So, are you in Hawaii now, or you're up in New York?
no, I'm in the New York metropolitan area. We actually live in New Jersey, and
Okay.
I get to get out of the city, and my daughter still lives there. But yeah, my wife was a really a superb cosmetic chemist with 3 patents. She was the smart one. I didn't tell you the story, but I met her in calculus class when I was taking it for the 3rd time, Calc 2. So she taught me how to study a little bit.
That's
And I'm
awesome.
still with her today. It's we just our anniversary, 34th anniversary, on July 2nd. My son got married on the 3rd, and just a great weekend.
That's awesome. That is fantastic. That is well, congratulations, man. It's
Thank you.
it's
Thank
we don't see many couples today that have stayed together that long. You know,
you.
in,
Yeah,
in-
she's
into
so mad
into
that I strung her along for 6 years, so,
So that's it, man. You got her. That's it. You got it. That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
fantastic.
And
So
it's good to
what's
hear about your daughters too. So, I mean, that's what's important, and just great to hang out with you today.
absolutely, man. It's fantastic. Tell me, how has real estate, getting involved in real estate investing, how has that changed your life?
Yeah, it's really given me this just extraordinary flexibility and freedom in life. There was a time where, I my kids had been to grounds for sculpture in Trenton like 4 times. I had never been there. I didn't see light for so many years that, between leaving at 5 in the morning and going to school at night and not getting home till midnight. It's it really gave me a life of being able to be a scoutmaster. I became a scoutmaster with my son and gave him magical moments where he became an Eagle Scout. And then he, graduated and was a black belt and went to the Citadel. And my daughter, I used to take her out on date nights because, now I was around all the time. And she used to cook plastic meals for me, but she ended up marrying a doctor, teaching culinary medicine. She became a nutritionist, a dietitian, all because of those magic moments, when I got in real estate and I had the freedom. And then my youngest, I brought her to the barn, 500 times. She rode horses. She studied equine. She now just bought her first house at 24, and I literally this weekend was sitting there going, wow, you've gotten everything you ever wanted in your life and your kids are successful. And it's all because of real estate, honestly, because, engineering would have paid the bills and I would have had a really good job, in construction I would have did even better. But it wasn't until I had the real estate where I had the flexibility of paying myself and, creating the passive revenue and meeting all kinds of people and creating something that's different every day, and that's the beauty of it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree with you 100%. Having that flexibility, it's all about that flexibility and that freedom to go out and to take back your life so that you can go out and do what it is you're passionate about. Spending
Yes.
time with your kids, creating memories. I'm 100% with you on the same line.
Mm.
Is that it's all about creating memories,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
I have my 2 teenage daughters now, and they're teenagers, and they get all the the hormones and everything kicking, right? And that whole thing that comes with it, right?
Yeah.
But it's funny because I'll sit there and I'll talk to them. I'll say, hey, remember when we first moved to Florida? They were little babies. I said, we and the lightning storms and the thunderstorms. I said, remember we used to sit outside and they would get scared. Thunderstorms in South Florida, ridiculous, right? And the lightning and the thunder. So they would get scared. So we played this game. I said, listen, every time there's thunder, that's like God roaring like a lion. So why don't we roar back like lions? Every time there was thunder, we'd roar back, and they loved it. They giggled, and now I talked to them about it. I said, you remember? And I see that little, even if they didn't want to, right? They put that, no, I don't remember. But then I see that little smug go, yeah, I remember those days. I remember when we did that. I remember when we did that.
Yeah.
That's what makes it all worth it.
No question.
Right?
Yeah, I call them magic moments. They're never going to be forgiven. That's what we're going to remember when it's our time. Those moments with our family and.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Traveling, we get to travel. I'm in Northwest Arkansas. I'm in my lake house right now in Rogers, and my daughters were here. My wife just took them to the airport because they're going back to Florida. So we travel with them constantly. Even when they say we don't want to go, I'm like, you know what, you're coming. And then they have a good time. We went on a lake yesterday, paddleboarding, canoeing. Of course, they bitched and complained the whole way there. But once we got there and they got on the rafts, we were having a blast.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
that's what kids are for,
Exactly. But that's what real estate does for us, right? It gives us that ability to create those memories and to regain our time in our life.
Yes, indeed. Right? It sure
Plus
does.
all the upside of depreciation and appreciation and tax benefits and all that good stuff, right? That's other, but on the family side and on the lifestyle side, it's really something to look forward to. Who are some people that kind of helped you? You talked about Tony Robbins, right? He was one of your mentors. Were there other people that you could look back upon and say, you know what, if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't have been here, or they helped me move forward with that.
Yeah, I mean, I was in a interesting world, but there was a guy, John Norris, rest his soul, who built the 2 largest projects in the world. He he came out of a company. He was a Canadian soldier who ran the Reichman family real estate. He built literally Canary Wharf in London. And then he came to New York and built Battery Park. And when I teamed up with him, he had taken over the Forest City operation, which was Bruce Ratner, who owned the Brooklyn Nets. And I was part of a $1 billion project that we built in Metro Tech early on in my career. And I used to meet him like literally at 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning, a couple times a week to just be mentored. And, you know, he was probably the biggest pivot in my life, because at one time he says, you know, you're really good at what you do. You need to go work for this guy, Trevor Davis. And that's when I went from the construction to the development side. And I was, you know, in charge of, you know, like some major stuff. And I realized, you know, this is something I need to do for myself. And it was because of John Norris kind of pushing me out of that job security. And, you know, I was real comfortable. And my friends stayed at Bovis for 20, 30 years and have big 401ks and all that kind of stuff. But, you know, I didn't want to shit all over myself. You know, I shoulda, coulda, woulda. And I just, you know, took the leap of faith.
Sometimes you got to jump off that cliff, even if you don't have a plane.
Yeah, exactly.
Or a parachute. You just got to jump, right? And you got to know. And I always say, trust in the universe, and the universe will take care of you, right? Yeah. Trust that you have to, that you are where you are for a reason. And the people that are surrounding you are there for a reason. What that reason is, we may not find out today. We may not find out tomorrow, but there's a reason, right?
Yeah.
Go in 100%, all in, because if you have faith in yourself, if you have faith, if you believe, if you know, I take it even a step further than faith or belief. You got to know. You got to know that you are where you are and that everything will be okay, because you know, if it's up to me, if it is to be, it is up to me. Right?
I like that.
That's one of those short. That's a sentence that has every word is a 2-letter word in it.
I like that. Yeah, that's true.
Right?
Yeah.
If it is to be, it is up to me. Right?
Yeah.
And so, you know, I traveled the world for many, many years, and I was put in these ridiculous circumstances in different places. But, you know, when you don't have that confidence or belief or knowledge that everything will work out, because it already has. Right? I mean, as bad as shit has gotten in our lives, look where we are today.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So as bad as it was, we still made it because we knew that things were going to be well and things were going to be good. So that's kind of the, you know, the mindset that I always that I teach my children, and that we move forward in. Listen, Ken, I've taken up too much of your time already. It's been fantastic. Why don't you share with our listeners how they can get a hold of you?
Yeah, the easiest way is just go to the website. You know, it's kenvanliew.com, KenVanLiew. There is a free strategy session, which I'm still getting on the phone with people and saying hello. You know, and we're just keeping it simple. You know, we give away a lot of free stuff. You know, you can get my book for free. I have my 11 Millionaire Secrets, my 10 Golden Nuggets. And, you know, if you want to talk direct, we have support systems. But yeah, just check out the website. I try to keep it all in one place. You know, I didn't even tell you, I was recently selected, and I just shot a documentary with Dennis Quaid. It's going to go national to 60 million households, called Real Estate Today, Keys to Investing. And should be ready to go in September. We're real excited about that. You know, just, you know, I was blessed one day and my phone rang. It said TV on it. So I was one of 10 people that got interviewed and was selected for the position. So it was exciting.
Beautiful. Congratulations on that. That's fantastic.
Thank you.
I look forward to it. Well, thanks again. Thanks so much for being here. Continue on that journey to success, to creating magical moments with your family and changing the New York skyline forever. We appreciate everything you've been doing. Thank you so much for being a positive force in this universe. We need more people like you out there wanting to help educate and transform people's lives. So thank you very much for doing that. We appreciate that.
You got that. And it's on. Thank you very much. You know, it's been awesome.
Thank you. Travelers, it's been awesome having you here. Another great week. Check us out on all the different podcast stations, iHeart, Spotify. We're there as a Traveling Investor Show. We're going to be here next week somewhere on Spaceship Earth. Don't know exactly where. I want to thank all of our sponsors for taking the time and helping us with the show. And travelers, remember, being born poor is not your fault, but dying poor is. And meet me here next week, same place, same time, where we demystify the art of mastering your mind, body, and wallet. I'm Nitsan Mosri, your host, the Traveling Investor. I'll see you somewhere on Spaceship Earth. Take care, everybody.